Ever notice that when you make a decision and follow that decision with an action, that how you feel changes? In this video, I'm going to talk about when I decided I was moving to France and how that changed my feelings around it and how it threatened my ability to make it happen and what I did to prevent that. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have already subscribed, thank you. If you're new here, welcome, and consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell so that each time I upload a video about moving abroad, life in France, or finding the confidence and courage to live life on your terms, you will be notified. I'm Patricia Brooks, and in 2018, I quit my project management job and I moved to the south of France to find myself. And making this decision was an easy one because I had some really strong reasons for wanting to be here. But actually taking action on that decision was a bit harder because I hemmed and hawed. I procrastinated for probably close to a year before I took any real action. And that was because I was concerned that I would not be able to get a visa, would not be able to get the visitor visa that would allow me to stay in France for a year and then renew it again if I needed to, because I didn't think I could do it financially. And so I avoided looking at my finances and what exactly was required to get the visitor visa financially. And so I didn't do anything. But in January of 2017, the pain of my staying in the United States and continuing to do what I was doing, going into the job that I could do blindfolded, kind of living a good existence, but just an existence, was not right for me. I knew I had to do something else. And that's when I reached out to a coach and started working with her. And in our first session, she asked, well, what will it take? How much money do you need to do this thing? And I said, I don't know. And I was a little bit afraid, a little bit ashamed that I didn't know, but also my fear had prevented me. So I was okay with it. And she's like, okay, well, next time we meet next week, I want you to come back with the figure that you need to have in order to get this visitor visa. And I said, okay. So I had to face my fear and look at what I had in the bank and whether or not that would be sufficient enough. I had avoided that because I thought looking at that and not having enough would destroy my dream completely forever, which is not true. I mean, if I didn't have enough, I could always save more, right? But that was my mind, my irrational mind working. And so that's what I did. And when I found out that I had more than enough to go on a visitor visa for a couple, at least 2 years, things changed for me. And I decided, I said, I am moving to France. And in that decision and in that taking action of looking at what it would take, how I felt about my move changed as well. There was a degree of excitement that hadn't been there before because I hadn't allowed myself to really believe that it might be possible. And seeing the numbers on the page made it feel like, oh, this could happen. And in feeling that excitement and thinking, oh, this could happen. How might this change my life? That created a swell of fear inside of me too. It's like, ooh, this is getting real. Now, one of the members of my program said to me after she signed up for the program, just after that, ooh, this is scary because this feels like I took a real step toward my future. And anytime that we do, we can have a sense of excitement on one hand, but also this sense of fear of the uncertainty and of, well, how is this going to impact my life long term? And depending on which is stronger, you can have different results toward reaching your goal. If the excitement outweighs that fear, then, you're full steam ahead, no problem. But if that fear kind of gets you in your tracks and you take that step, but then don't take another one, then it can derail your progress for good. And that is not a good place to be. And so I wanted to talk about how, if you get caught up in that fear of taking that first step or those first several steps, and then you feel yourself pulling back and not allowing yourself to dream and not allowing yourself to move forward, what can you do to get unstuck? Well, in my program, I focus a lot on what we call our why statement. It is the purpose for your doing the thing that you're doing or working toward, right? Why are you going to turn your life upside down so completely to make a move to a foreign country? That is at the crux of it. My why statement for moving to France was that I wanted to live in a place that filled me with a sense of freedom, where I could speak the beautiful French language and hear it every day, and where I could go beyond the bounds of what I had previously thought possible for me. That was my why, right? And so when you create a why statement for your move abroad or for whatever big goal you have set for yourself, this is like an anchor that you can bring up anytime that sense of fear wells up in you, and it rights the ship. It makes it like, yes, this feels scary. This feels hard. And in order for me to experience the why, my purpose behind doing all of this, I've got to move forward. So that is the power of a why statement. And it's not a surface statement. It's not, I want to move to France because I like French food. It's deeper than that. It is tied to your core values, what you feel is most important to you, your guiding principles. So once you have that, and once you can recognize when that fear starts to well up in you, wherever it wells up in your body, whether that be in your chest or in your stomach or wherever you feel it in your body. And then as soon as you feel that, you remind yourself, you tell yourself your why statement, that can help to ease that fear and help you move through it more easily. All right. So that is a marvelous tool to be able to use. And the members of my program absolutely love it. All right. So that is the reason I moved to France. Now, the first city I moved to was a city called Perpignan in the south of France. And I fell in love with the city the first time I set foot in it. And that is where I had this overwhelming feeling of freedom. And so knowing that that was the place I wanted to go to also helped to fuel my desire and move me through my fear. I felt this feeling of freedom that I was going for in my why statement, and that egged me on. And so if you know where you are going, if you know the city that you're going and you've been there and you felt how you want to feel when you're living there, then that adds to your why statement. Okay? So now I started out in Perpignan and it was great for a year. But when it was time for me to renew my visa and it was time for me to get a new lease, I thought, well, where in Perpignan do I want to settle? I was living near the train station, which is, in some areas, is okay. But I wanted to move away from there. But I couldn't find the neighborhood that felt right to me. And I had walked up one way and down the other Perpignan. I knew it inside and out. And I had not found that place. And so I went a little further out to a smaller village that I had visited a Saturday market, and it was very quaint. And I went back out to see if I could see myself living there. And that is where I landed. And I say this to say that if you know your country that you want to go to and you're not sure of the city, and maybe you haven't found that city that lights you up and your move date is approaching, pick a city that feels good to you and start there. And then from there, you can find your way to the place that is perfect for you. And it's okay. It's okay if you are in one city and you wind up having to pivot or move to another city because, well, it was right for the first year, but not right for long term. Because when we take steps and we move forward, that is when we can get more information and move ourselves forward. I like the expression that nothing is wasted. Even if you feel like you have done something that wasn't right, you gain knowledge, you gain understanding from that. And so don't ever discount that. All right. So that is a little bit of my why I moved to France. That is how I was feeling in the beginning, excited, but a little bit afraid. And my why statement, although I hadn't summed it up in so many words because I hadn't created my program yet where I designed the why statement, my why was inside of me as a feeling, that feeling of freedom, right? So it's so powerful, so important to do. If you don't have one and you've got a big goal, such as moving abroad, I highly, highly recommend it. Okay. So that's it. When you commit to doing something and you take action after you decide, things start to get real, and that can create a sense of excitement as well as increase the fear that you feel around it. But if you have a why statement, that can help you through. Now, if you are considering a move abroad and you do have some fear or trepidation about taking the next step, I'd love to have a conversation to see where you are, where you want to be, what might be holding you back, and if working with me could help get you there sooner and with more ease. I'm going to put a link to my calendar in the description where you can find a time for us to talk, and I look forward to hearing from you real soon. Now, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you again next time. Bye for now.